So we held this workshop at CEH Wallingford in order to develop land use scenarios for the Wessex region. So the aim of the workshop was to build rule sets in order to develop spatially explicit land use scenarios, so maps of possible future land use in the Wessex region.
One was to start engaging more concretely with the stakeholders to get them involved in the project and to hear their opinions. And secondly was a much more definite process of trying to get them to give us information on how they see the landscape of Wessex or Wessex BESS area changing over the next 20 to 30 years.
So I think there'll be several major pressures on the land in future. One is the big increase in military activity and military population, another civilian housing development and all of the infrastructure that goes with that. Certainly climate change will be a big one, and it's still quite unpredictable, but I think we're going to see a big impact in terms of extreme weather and changes in biodiversity.
Principal one is sort of agricultural intensification, agricultural change.
And also regulation, changes in regulation. We're seeing that already with the sort of policy changes.
The main pressures from the land come from the need to produce food and to produce wealth from land owning, while at the same time ensuring that the ecosystem services that we pass on to generations after us are not only conserved but enhanced.
My job is to create a detailed map of the area. That's done using airborne imagery, hyperspectral data and LiDAR data. And so basically the idea is that at 1 meter resolution we can produce a habitat map, a land cover map of the area, and also the LiDAR will produce height maps. So we'll be able to differentiate the different woodlands, the shrublands, and that will provide a baseline data set for the researchers who are going to do the research in the area.
The Wessex landscape is quite a complex landscape, and it's got a lot of different grassland types. These vary from improved grasslands, those who receive lots of nitrogen and fertilisers, and these tend to be really species poor, all the way up to ancient grasslands that are hundreds of years old at least. So what we're looking at is in the role of how these different grassland habitats can act as source populations for natural predators. So this is like predatory beetles, spiders, parasitoid wasps. And what we want to understand is how if the proximity to these different grassland types to agricultural land, how do these different predators, species, spill over into the agricultural land and help control pests?
I'm particularly looking at the eco-services of pollination and pest regulation. So how beneficial insects supported by the grasslands in the area may spill over into farmland and then provide benefits to farmers in terms of pollination of crops and also pest control by natural enemies, which might lead to increases in yield.
Our research is trying to look at the association between biodiversity and cultural benefits. So if we find that there is a positive relationship and more biodiversity means that you get more cultural benefits, then this will impact upon the way that we give the public access perhaps to areas that are higher biodiversity.
Our research as part of Wessex BESS will be looking at the ecosystem services provided by rivers. Specifically, we'll be looking at nutrient retention and provision of salmon fisheries and how the in-stream biodiversity affects both of those services. This research will help inform decisions that are made about the competing ecosystem services that the Wessex landscape provides.
What we're looking at is how the landscape, changes to the landscape, will affect the services that are provided by the rivers in terms of the capture of nutrients that drain from the system and the production of fish, which people are interested for recreation.
So I work with computer models which help predict ecosystem services from maps of land use. Using these models we can create different maps of land use under different scenarios, how land use might change in the future, and then using those models look at how changes in land use affect ecosystem service delivery.
And then the next steps will be to use ecosystem service models such as the INVEST tool and other models that we develop within the Wessex BESS project in order to understand how ecosystem services might change under those different land use scenarios.